SCORE Northeast Wisconsin and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences. From starting to sustaining growth, learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you miss anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Biz Talk with SCORE here on WHBY. My name is Mary Rhode, and this morning I'm joined by my co-host, Rick Sense. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Mary.
Awesome. And we are so pleased and honored to be joined by a fantastic guest this morning. Her name is Vicki Updike. Vicki is a coach, author, and strategy facilitator with New Sage Strategies, and we're so excited to have her back here on Biz Talk and to learn more from her. Good morning, Vicki. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing well. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's maybe introduce you to some folks, reintroduce you to some folks as you were a previous guest on Biz Talk a few years ago. But go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners and share a little bit with us about that professional background of yours. It certainly is a great one. And just a little bit more about your path and what led you to where you are today.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I am a Green Bay native. So Green Bay has always been home for me. So as I, was seeking my professional career, it was taking me to places and it was really great, but I intentionally, looked to move back to Northeast Wisconsin. It's been about 20 years now, but back to Northeast Wisconsin. I was able to do that, and it's just been a wonderful journey. So my professional career it started out in marketing, and that was great. It pulled me to Silver Star Brands in Oshkosh, and that was my last corporate role before starting New Sage Strategies. My last role there was as president of the organization, and it was just a really fabulous company to be a part of. But I also knew that I wanted to raise my kids in Northeast Wisconsin, and we moved back here when they were 3 and 6. And, the goal is that they really grow up with the extended family. And about a couple of years ago, my son was actually best man in his cousin's wedding. So it kind of worked, but they are best friends. And it's just great. This is a wonderful, wonderful community. And it's just a beautiful place to have a wonderful career, but also to raise great, great families.
So share with us about New Sage Strategies. Explain to our listeners kind of what is it, maybe how it even came to be, right? I'm, as someone who loves branding, I'm always curious as to how or why people name their own companies, right? Certain things. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. I never ever thought I would start my own company, right? I never thought I'd start my own business, but what was happening in my corporate role, which was awesome, I loved the team, loved the work, but I really found that I got most of my joy from really supporting the team, allowing the team to learn and grow, and to do things that they never thought they could do. And I could do that in that role, but I also had everything else. And so it was really the defining factor for me was, can I do this full time? Can I bring this energy to finding people's greatest potential as a company? And that's where New Sage Strategies started. And so new is a play on new, but also Northeast Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Sage is all about wisdom. And so it's the new wisdom and the strategies that come with that. And, so that's where the name came from. And it is just, it really describes the work I do.
So I kind of had to chuckle when you said, you didn't set out to start your own company. I've talked to so many entrepreneurs And they say that exact same phrase in so many ways, right? And it's always so funny when you're talking with them and they're reflecting on, where their journey to having their own business, and they don't regret it. They don't regret any of it, right? So if you're, as someone who wasn't seeking out becoming an entrepreneur, what were those kind of defining moments for you in this journey? And perhaps even what was something that scared you about, or something, something surprising, or even one of those more rewarding things in the history of New Sage?
Yeah, it took a while, right? The seed started growing and the thoughts started, and I started kind of putting some thoughts around it, and to start considering whether or not I could really make the leap. It did take quite a bit of time. And a lot of what I do today is I coach. I am an executive coach, a leadership coach, really a people coach, because you can't necessarily take the person out of their profession, right? And a lot of things that we coach on is getting stuck or feeling less than confident to be able to do the next thing. And looking back on myself taking that step, I was in that same spot. I was having the doubts. I was, really wondering if I had the confidence to do this. And it finally, I had everything laid out, ready to go. And, it's just like, well, when should we pull the trigger? And I'm, talking with my husband about it probably again for like the 20th time in the last 6 months. And he said something so simple to me, but it's like, he said, I thought we already decided this, Vicki. And he's right. We did. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it to myself. And it was a really great decision. But starting your own business, one, it takes a little bit of time to let go of your corporate journey. For me, it did, right? There is the pace of that corporate world, right? The monthly reports, the budgets, the forecasts, all the things, all those cadences that come with working for a large company. And it took me a while to let that go, because I get so wrapped up in you. So that was a little bit of a surprise for me, that transition, not to just start the new, but to let go of the old. I would say, so New Sage Strategies is just me. I have a few great partners that I work with, but New Sage Strategies is about coaching. And it is about strategic facilitation and bringing workshops into different companies. And I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
So Vicki, then you left behind your role in the corporate world, but you must have brought some skills and talents from that besides, the idea of running your own company. And I guess I'd like to focus on the coaching piece of that, since you brought that up. Is, how does that corporate background impacted your coaching style? How does that carry forward in what you do today?
Yeah, when I first started out, I really started working with various executive teams from various companies around our region. And I would step in to help these executive teams really put execution to their strategic plan. And sometimes it's easier to do that from the outside, to come in and say the hard things, or to really try to change behavior, because we're not going to hit our new goals unless something starts changing. And doing that, that's when coaching really began, because I had executives from those various companies then come to me and say, okay, Vicki, now can I just work with you? And that's where specifically women really started and that's where coaching really took off. And so coaching, it's a very personalized decision. Coaching is really, and my approach is, where are you and where do you want to go? And really, what's getting in your way? And let's talk about it. And I like to say it's putting the mirror up for them to see what they they are doing, what they're not doing, what's getting in their way. But it's all very, very personal. And really it is about being decisive in a lot of cases. It's about confidence. It's about getting unstuck in what we may feel. And really just to work with the various executives to give them the confidence to keep going. Now, my background, so I've been, in many of the cases, I've been in that chair, right? I was the executive, or I was the leader that has now gone from an individual contributor to a first-time leader. And so my personal experience of walking through that is something that not all coaches have. And I find I draw on that quite a bit, Rick. It's just one of those things that's like, and I let my clients know, it's like, okay, I'm going to take off the coaching hat and kind of just talk to you as what I went through in my journey. And that balance is really what helps me relate to those clients.
So I know you're an author, correct?
I am.
So how has that experience helped prepare you to be a better coach? Yeah.
So my book, Navigating Your Journey, was kind of my COVID year project. And what I had found is that so much of what I struggled with going through my leadership journey through corporate USA, many women are still challenged with those same things. And it's been a few years. So I really found this as an opportunity to put out there what I've learned on the journey and maybe some ways to help you get through some of these obstacles on your journey. And that's what the book is all about. So it really was I continue to see these issues.
So I feel like so much of what we talked about here already this morning feeds so well into one of the largest events that I certainly know of in the greater Green Bay area, and that is the Women's Leadership Conference. This is something that certainly me personally, but so many of my professional colleagues, they bookmark it on their calendar every single year, and it's something that we all look forward to. It is such a wonderful conference. Can you, in case someone hasn't heard of it before, can you share a little bit about what the Women's Leadership Conference is and what someone who would like to attend or maybe is planning to attend for the first time this year, what they could expect?
Yeah, well, and thank you for that wonderful compliment. The Women's Leadership Conference is really a beautiful day. It is meant for women of all spaces and ages and wherever you are in your career. The goal of the Women's Leadership Conference is to bring together a group of women that, one, you can learn and grow from each other. You can meet new people, and you can take a few things back with you to try in your own professional journey. And it has evolved over the years, and we are very fortunate. It's going to be on October 7th this year in 2026 at the Rush Expo Center in Green Bay, right across from Lambeau Field. It has evolved to a really beautiful day, and how I like to measure the success is that buzz in the room, the energy in the room that is created when you bring 1,000 women together and you hear that and you can feel their vulnerability and you can feel their kindness. And that is success for me, is to give women the opportunity to be able to experience that and learn a couple things, right? It's that, in a month or two after the conference, you're not saying, oh yeah, that was an awesome day, but what did I learn? Mm-hmm. Hopefully you're saying it was a wonderful day and I was able to learn the couple things that will help you on your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely echo that. The vibe in the room is unlike any other, and those takeaways are just as magical as well. So with that, we're going to take our first break here. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back after these messages.
WHBY, I'm Rick Sense, along with Mary Rhode this week. And we are speaking with Vicki Updike, and we will get right back to our conversation with Vicki in just a moment. First, I want to take a moment to talk to you about SCORE. SCORE Northeast Wisconsin serves a 29-county area, northeast and north central Wisconsin, and we have over 50 volunteers, each an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no-cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, HR, retail best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost, confidential mentoring session, and or to learn more about SCORE Northeast Wisconsin, please visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. You can learn more about how the SCORE chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to SCORE. Within a few days, a SCORE mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, SCORE is no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, simply visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And to support small business people, SCORE Northeast Wisconsin is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application, and we will get back to you to explain more. And finally, this reminder about the Biz Talk with SCORE podcast. The Biz Talk with SCORE podcast brings you the same real-world information and insights from experienced entrepreneurs and business leaders, just like Biz Talk with SCORE and WHBY. However, Biz Talk with SCORE podcast is available when you are. So listen and subscribe today, tomorrow, or whenever you want. Available on most podcatchers and podcast apps. So with that, I'm going to turn the show back over to you, Mary.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rick. So, Vicki, off air, you shared kind of a fun fact, something I didn't know, in that when you started New Sage Strategies, one of the very first things that you did was create the New Sage Women's Network. Tell us about it. What is it, and how did the idea come to you?
Yeah, so the New Sage Women Network, these are small groups of women, so 8 to 12 women, and we go on a year's journey together. And my first group that I ever started was for women presidents. And I started it because when I was in that chair, I had a wonderful network, but I didn't have those people I could talk to about the hard things, the confidentiality that I needed to really talk about what decisions are going through my head, what's keeping me up at night as leading this organization. And that's what brought me to start the New Sage Women's Networks. And so we spend a half a day together every month. And this is we build trust quickly with the group and really able to work through those hard things together. And it was something I originally did. I started the President's Network right away when I started New Sage Strategies. And now I have 2 executive team networks and 1 for high potential. So it's just been a wonderful place for women to come together, because so often we feel we are the only ones having the problem or the issue, when so often there's other people around the table that are experiencing something very similar. So to be able to lean into that and work with each other and to support each other has been a wonderful component of New Sage Strategies.
Yeah, so true. Sometimes even commiserating together is healing, right? And it's beneficial. What have you noticed happening in the room when you get these groups of professional women together? You mentioned certainly, that they realize, gosh, I'm not the only one going through this particular struggle or trying to get over this particular hurdle. But what kind of vibe, what kind of energy are you feeling in the room when these networking groups are getting together?
Yeah, well, I would say the vibe is support, right? Is that we want to hear from you. We want to hear how you're doing. But there are going to be times that you show up and you're going to need the support. but there's other times that you show up and you are able to give support to someone else. And it's that beautiful balance of receiving it and giving it that really allows the members to be really valuable networking partners for each other. And so the vibe is trust, right? We talk about things that we probably can't talk about with everybody. And the trust that we can talk about those hard things is really amazing. And to see the group come together is just always a wonderful accomplishment.
Why would you encourage someone to join? If someone's just out there and they feel like they're alone in their silo and aren't really sure where to go, who to reach out to, and this happens to pop up in their Facebook feed, right, or their Google algorithm as they're searching for professional support. What are those words of encouragement for someone?
I would say give it a try. It's having a community of people that want you to succeed is so powerful. And for all of us to be able to have that space that I can go to these people and I know that they want me to have the success, that it's a unique space, and it helps women in very different ways, right? One, it helps them to maybe see their potential. It helps them work through challenging situations. And it helps them really step into the next thing, whether it's a next role or a next, it's a wonderful space for that support.
Well, we are so thrilled that you had this idea to put these women's networking groups together, because you're right, community is so important. And we're going to learn a whole lot more here in this next segment about some of those other offerings that New Sage Strategies has available to the professional working women of the New North region. So we're going to take our next commercial break here. You are listening to Biz Talk with Score here on WHBY.
WHBY. I'm Rick Sense, along with Mary Rhode today, and we are having a great conversation with Vicki Updike. And before we get to the conversation, I just want to remind everybody once again about the Biz Talk with Score podcast. It's available through your podcatchers out there, your favorite podcast apps. So kind of always keep in mind, you're looking for something to, get a good 45 minutes of education going, listen to the podcast. It's available through Biz Talk with Score on most podcatchers and your favorite podcast apps. So make sure you give us a listen when we're not on the air on Saturday mornings. So, Vicki, I have to ask you, there's a lot of struggles in business, it seems, today. And what kind of struggles are you seeing organizations currently dealing with?
Yeah, great. I would say one of the things I work with teams on quite a bit is communication and trust. Trust is the foundation of so much success. And so to really to get to the heart of that trusting factor of the people around the table. And that comes with the ability to have hard conversations. So many of the workshops I do are the structure on how to have difficult conversations. And difficult conversations, that they're not bad. They're not, we have to go into them with the right intent. And so to work with organizations on how to build that trust by having these meaningful conversations has been one area that I've been able to work in. Another is helping high-performing individual contributors move into a leadership role. It is so different when you were the expert in your field and now you have to lead other people. It takes so many different skill sets that helping these new leaders through that journey is just has been really awesome for me. And also, my work with executive teams and really getting traction on their strategic plan comes with changing behavior, because what got you here is not going to get you there. And so often the companies know where they want to go. They just need help changing the behaviors to actually get there. Because when we meet as an executive team, we will have a great meeting, and then we fall back to our teams and we do what we've always done. And that doesn't necessarily work if you're trying to change a strategic direction of an organization. So those are a few fun areas that I've been able to help companies with.
Are you seeing, you mentioned the trust being a common struggle that you see. Are you seeing that across kind of organizations of all sizes, nonprofit, for-profit, or are there some other things that tend to creep up sometimes as hurdles for companies as they're trying to grow and develop?
Yeah, I would say it's just varying levels of trust, right? We can have a very polite team that works together, but polite may not be what the team needs to actually get to the next level. So trusting each other to be able to say some of the things and to say the hard things is important as we continue to lead organizations or lead teams. So it is allowing trust at a new level. That when we go back and work with our teams and look to change behavior, that I have the trust of the people around me that I can do my job.
As part of those training and coaching sessions that you're doing, do you kind of have some action items then, right? Kind of, I'm always the one in the room saying, okay, well, what's next? Or, what's our takeaway here? What are our action items? So is that, as the leader of these training and development sessions, how do you help the organization ensure that there are action items beyond this training session?
Yeah, that is actually the heart of what happens, right? It's great to know more information, but it is until we put it in action that we're actually making use of the information. So it is very important that as I work through workshops or as I work with individuals, that we know what has to be done before the next time we meet. What are you going to try? Well, what do you need to prepare for? How can we get you there? And then to hold them accountable to doing it, because that's going to be the first thing we talk about when we come back together. How'd it go? So because that's the thing that's going to drive results. Even in coaching and in working with executive teams or various teams, it is what is the outcome we want to see from doing this together? And what are the steps then each time we're taking to get to that outcome? And that is mission critical because that's where change happens.
So you mentioned earlier in segment 1 that you are an author, and hopefully folks grabbed that the title of your book and are adding it to their must-read list here following this episode. But and I hope too listeners have just kind of felt this wealth of knowledge that you've been sharing with us throughout the episode here today. So, oftentimes you hear that once people write a book, they end up going out on these book tours and talking about it and sharing it with audiences. So has that happened for you? Are you kind of gaining some of those speaking engagements and being able to share the word, share with others the contents of your book?
Yeah, thank you. I would say I am not one on a book tour. But the book has definitely opened additional speaking opportunities for me. And what I find is and these are mostly women's networks and larger women's groups. And what I go in with the message is that our confidence is not always as high as we want it to be. Nobody is 100% confident 100% of the time. And I go through the stories in my career where I wasn't, and I screwed up, and I walked through it and was able to make it through it. And really to allow us to build on that. Confidence isn't something we need going into a new area. That's courage. We want the courage to be able to take the steps to do the new things. Confidence actually comes from actually doing it. It comes from the learning. It comes that, I can learn and grow and keep doing this. So for us to always seek confidence is is when confidence is more of a trailing factor, and it's the courage we need to keep going forward.
So again, in an earlier segment here this morning, we touched on the Women's Leadership Conference, which I hope so many are looking forward to coming up in October. But there's a few other events under the realm of New Stage Strategies that I know you were very excited to share with listeners here today. One of those is the High School Girls Leadership Conference. And this seemed to be something that I'll say happened a little by accident maybe, or you kind of started it and it has ballooned into something much, much bigger. So tell us about it. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity a couple of years ago that I was working with a high school leadership class, and I just noticed in that class that girls were very hesitant, and it just hit me. I'm like, oh my God, right? It's already there in high school. And then the post-COVID surveys came out about how our high school kids are doing post-COVID, and the level of confidence and the sense of belonging. The gap between boys and girls is significantly lower, and the gap is growing. And so that, if that's already happening in high school, we know that happens in our professional journey. I'm like, so what's going to happen when these young ladies get into their career? So it was then that I'm like, I think I need to do a high school girls leadership conference. We have all of the infrastructure set up with the women's conference. Let's just add a day and bring all of our girls together. And that's really how the idea came. Our first year was 2024, and we had 500 girls from about 20 different school districts attend. And it was a morning, that they don't usually experience. It was a great speaker, great networking, right? Allowing them, we had the DJ during our networking breaks. We had them meet other people. It was really a great experience. Our theme that year was Dream Big and Soar. And we had a mural on the wall that girls could go write their dreams on it. And I'm watching these girls write their dreams. And one girl was standing there with her marker, and you could tell she was thinking about, what on earth am I going to write? And she finally gets up there and she writes, to be confident. Now, to be confident is this young lady's dream. And that's when it was like, okay, I think we can do more here. How can we do more to support these girls? And that's where the whole concept of the nonprofit organization started coming together. That we do these leadership events for these high school girls, but we also have a workshop series around confidence and belonging and boundaries, and that we bring back into high schools and are able to bring these girls through these workshops to further develop their level of confidence and courage. It has grown into a beautiful nonprofit that you're right, I didn't exactly see coming.
All right. So I just would like to take a step in a different direction here, Vicki, and just kind of, you've talked about a lot about leadership and how your business is built around that. Can you maybe give listeners some insight from your time starting in your career in your corporate world, and then now in the entrepreneurial side that you've done? How has leadership changed in that time?
Yeah, early in my career, I was able to experience some really great leaders, and I watched them, and they were two wonderful females, and they were just these beacons to me that were able to see that they cared, that they listened, and that when you talk with them, they actually stay present with you. And it was just all of that I'm like, those are the things I want to emulate. And then I go on to another company, and it is exactly the opposite. Leadership is 5 suits walking around an office behind closed doors, having meetings. I don't even think I heard the president of the organization speak live the whole time I was there. It was very much a secrecy and I didn't really know what my role was in elevating the company for success. So when I was stepping into a leadership role, I was looking at those two examples and said, I see what I want to be, but also you can see what you don't want to be. And I was able to really use that I want to be the leader that actually connects with the people. I want to learn where you want to go and what you want to do. And I think that's something that has been evolving with leaders. It's not just getting work done. It is really allowing each other to find the successes that bring them a satisfying career.
So you commented about connecting with people. How do you do that as a leader in our world, which seems to be just spiraling out of connectivity? We're connected to a device or the internet, not to each other. How do you deal with that?
My suggestion would be is to stay curious. There's so often that we look for right and wrong or agree, disagree. And not all conversations have to be about that. So it's okay to not agree, but seek to understand. And that, I think, is something that we rush through. And we assume we know what each other is going to say or what they're going to present or, how they're going to act within the team that I'm on with them. But that's not the case. I would say my biggest advice would be to stay curious. And if someone is disagreeing, ask more questions before getting judgmental.
In working with people, you teach them to lead with authority. Is that a fair way of saying it?
I would say lead with confidence, and to lead with purpose.
Okay.
It's not really authority. I want you to be successful, and how can I best work with you to get you the success that you deserve or that you want. So it's not really up there to tell people what to do. That's not leadership anymore.
In working through that with them, how do you do that in such a way that you don't inadvertently create people that want to become more internalized and more hardened in their way of seeing things and trying to delegate as opposed to working with the team? How do you work through that struggle?
Yeah, I wish I had the answer to that, Rick. I think, it comes with the safe place to share our disagreements. So that is very important. Fear of judgment is huge, and that will make people silence every time. So if your team has a fear of judgment, I think let's start talking about that and saying, okay, what are we going to get over? And so much, it starts with the leadership. We can't ask our team to do something that our leaders won't do. So it really starts with us walking the path with our people in that lack of judgment.
Are there any obvious telltale signs that a leader might see out there that would just scream that they should get a hold of you sooner than later that you could share with listeners?
Oh, everyone is on their own journey. And it's interesting that, I meet people and working with them may not be the right time, but a year or two later, they've come back and said, okay, Vicki, I need to start working with you. So it's really understanding where you are on your journey, where you want to go, and what is the support you need. And really then to start having the hard conversations. Is this going to happen? Is this real?
All right. I think we're going to take our final break. You're listening to Biz Talk with SCORE on WHBY, and we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Biz Talk with SCORE on WHBY. I'm Rick Sense, along with Mary Rhode today. And this has been a really good conversation. I hope it's been a great start to your weekend, everyone. And before we get back to our conversation with our guest this morning, I'm going to just take a moment to talk to you about our sponsors. Without our sponsors, they're what make Biz Talk with Score possible. And we'd just like to thank them and for their generous support. Haling & Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for the future. Haling & Associates, personal connection, positive results. Wherever you are in life or in the life of your business, Johnson Financial Group works to match the banking and wealth services needed to help you complete your mission. Thank you to the Business News for promoting our program in the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin with the latest business news and topics for the region. We are grateful for the support of Community First Credit Union. At its core, Community First Credit Union is a community of member owners where people work together to improve their financial well-being and help one another. New North, the Regional Marketing and Economic Development Corporation, is an active supporter of SCORE. The New North facilitates economic growth and helps people in this region live their best lives. Since 1919, Baird has guided families through investment, trust, estate, and tax planning advice. So no matter what the future brings, you can be confident you're ready, because your family is Baird's focus. We would like to recognize the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Fund within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region for their generous donation to Biz Talk and SCORE Northeast Wisconsin. And with that, we're going to go back to our guest. And Vicki, I just want to give you an opportunity to just give listeners an idea of how they can get a hold of you and what they can and get a hold of your organization.
Sure. I would encourage you to visit newsagestrategies.com. There you can connect with me on any one of these topics. And also there's an events tab where it'll take you to the Women's Leadership Conference and the high school leadership conference. And especially the high school, we are looking for volunteers to help with the leadership events, to facilitate workshops within these high schools and really be a mentor for these lovely young women that are coming through high school today.
And I want to ask you how people can get a hold of your book. But before I do that, want to just give me the dates again for the conferences that you just mentioned?
Yep. The Women's Leadership Conference is October 7th. It is at the Resch Expo Center in Green Bay. Very excited. And the high school girls leadership event is the following day on October 8th. And both of those are out on newsagestrategies.com.
Okay. And your book, Navigating Your Journey, how can people get a copy of that?
Yep, you can order a copy on my website, newsagestrategies.com, or you can go out to Amazon and you can order it there. Just search for Navigating Your Journey or Vicki Updike, and it should find my book. Okay.
So can you give someone the idea of what's the best way that they can support your nonprofit? How can they get behind the work you're doing?
I think we're just getting started, and we are in the pilot program of our workshops, and so we are learning a lot of what the impact that this is having on our young ladies. One thing, funding is always something we could use help with. $100 actually supports a girl going through the workshops. We don't charge anything to the schools to be able to bring this to girls. So if you visit sheleadswi.org, there's a volunteer form out there for you, and there's also a place to donate if you feel that this is also important for you.
So I have to ask this question. I always like to ask this question of people: is with everything you're doing, all the stuff you hear from folks, and you're working with them and helping them through and helping them learn confidence, are you personally having fun doing everything you're doing?
Rick, that's a really great question, because fun is actually very important to me. And it really, so I am. And it's in a different way. It's in a way that I really wouldn't have been able to articulate probably 10 years ago. It is about seeing my clients and seeing the people that I'm supporting have the successes in our community. That is so fun for me to watch.
Well, Vicki, it's been great talking with you this morning. And again, we've been having a conversation with Vicki Updike. And if you're looking for more information, I would encourage you to take a look at her website. Certainly go out to Amazon and buy her book. I think that you'd learn a lot in reading that, and it's one of those things where you actually heard from the author before you actually opened the book. So why wouldn't you get a copy of it after listening to Vicki this morning? So, and again, what's the name of that book, Vicki? One more time.
Navigating Your Journey.
All right. So with that, listeners, I appreciate your time listening to us this morning. Have a great week, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks again.